Massive update for United States crypto investors. President Trump and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just delivered a powerful message to Congress stating it's time to pass the Clarity Act right now. And during today's episode, we're going to be breaking down several of the latest updates out of the White House that lead us to believe the Clarity Act will end up getting across the finish line. Now, we're also going to compare this to some of the inside sources that have been reporting on the Clarity Act today, as one of the largest banking groups in America stated that if the Clarity Act isn't signed in the summer of 2026, we may not get this digital asset legislation until the year 2029. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Good Evening Crypto, your favorite crypto news related channel. If you enjoy this content, smash that like button and subscribe, as you're going to get an update every single day, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Now, we're going to waste no time diving straight into the content that we have prepared for today, but I would encourage all of our listeners to stick around until the end of the episode so you have a full understanding of exactly where the Clarity Act lies right now, and both what's happening between the XRP and XLM price charts that lead me to be more optimistic than ever. But to kick off today's show, I wanted to show you guys a brand new report that's circulating from this afternoon out of Paul Barron, as he said this is his prediction. After much more research and discussions with some key sources in Washington, D.C., Trump's future-proof mandate is about democratizing capital, not saving Wall Street's legacy spread. He isn't pushing the Clarity Act because in its current form, it forces crypto to play by the banking rules. He'd rather have no bill than a bad bill. And he's going after the jugular of finance, meaning the old banking system. And the Democrats in the midterms, Clarity will be delayed and it's not passing in its current form. The odds are declining from a high of 79% earlier this month down to 57% at the time of this recording. Now, on our channel, I've highlighted for a very long time why I believe the Clarity Act is going to get across the finish line. And it's because the Clarity Act actually benefits the banks more than the crypto industry in and of itself. And it's not just me who's saying this. We have industry executive and White House official Patrick Witt stating exactly that during an interview last week. Here's the clip.
Very bullish on this legislation. And many people out there would say that the banks are actually probably more in need of this legislation than crypto is. That bank permissible activities and Title IV is hugely important to the banks because, you know, in a world in which you start to tokenize a lot of these assets, if banks don't have a clear permission to engage in this, they're going to be left behind. So competitively, I think it's arguably as important, maybe even more important, that the banks get this legislation done.
And this is something I've said on this channel for several months now, is that the banks are actually behind the Clarity Act getting through the Senate Banking Committee. And if they didn't want to see the Clarity Act be signed into law, my belief is the banking industry would have shut this narrative down a long, long time ago. But TD Bank, one of the largest banking conglomerates inside the United States, predicted last night that the Clarity Act could collapse into 2027 as political chaos explodes in Washington, D.C. Now, according to the latest report, the Clarity Act is getting worse by the day, and the bill is becoming unlikely to pass in the calendar year of 2026. According to this report released last night, Democrats are becoming more hesitant, Republicans face growing political pressure, and the conflict of interest battles around Trump are turning crypto into a regulated political war zone. The investment bank warned that recent controversies tied to Trump crypto businesses and prediction markets are making it harder for the Democrats to support this bill. TD Cowen even warned that final delays could push the final implementation of the Clarity Act all the way until the calendar year of 2029. Well, my belief is on this issue that the banks are working to get as much as they can during this Clarity Act negotiation. We saw them squeeze the stablecoin industry to try to gain total control. This is the second part of that entire narrative. And what we're witnessing this morning is White House officials come out and rebuttal these claims. And that's exactly what we're going to get into for the next portion of today's episode. But if you're enjoying this content, smash that like button and leave a 1 underneath the video if you believe the Clarity Act will pass. Leave a 2 underneath the video if you think it does not happen in the calendar year of 2026. Well, here's some brand new statements out of White House official Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent telling the world the Clarity Act needs to pass right now.
I really wanted to get your thoughts on digital currency. A lot of our viewers are increasingly worried that digital currency could one day be used to track people's spending or limit personal freedom. What's your philosophy on that, and what safeguards is the Treasury and its administration putting in place to make sure new digital payment systems protect Americans' privacy and freedoms in the future?
Well, so this administration has been very clear. There will be no central bank digital currency, which I think would be the first step toward tracking. So we have taken that off the table. We passed stablecoin legislation with bipartisan, and the Clarity Act is now up on the hill. I think it has bipartisan support. And the most important thing we can do is to make digital assets come into the United States, make the U.S. the home, our regulation, our best practices, or what will ensure good standards for these. When you look at digital assets, all the nonsense that happens, all the things you read about, that's because it's the wild, wild west offshore. So we got to bring it on shore. So I would encourage the House and the Senate to get clarity done.
Well, one of the things that's absolutely clear from the response we got out of President Trump this morning and these statements out of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is that the White House is fully supporting the Clarity Act getting across the finish line. But it's the banking industry behind the scenes that I believe will be responsible for allowing this digital asset regulation to take place here inside the United States. And there's 5 major reasons that banks will benefit from the Clarity Act getting across the finish line. Now, the first major pillar here, banks can now safely offer cryptocurrency payments, lending, and trading without any regulatory uncertainty from anybody in the United States government. This would also allow for digital asset custody to become capital efficient, meaning these large banking institutions could hold on to people's crypto in a fully regulated manner. We're also going to see banking actors act as prime brokers, dealers, and trading platforms for cryptocurrencies, capturing this institutional demand and bringing trillions of dollars from the traditional systems into many of the blockchain products that we discuss on a daily basis. Now, also the stablecoin narrative, which has become very important during these Clarity Act negotiations, stablecoins are barred from paying any interest or yield, preventing money from fleeing the traditional bank accounts, allowing for the current companies in place to maintain their monopoly over the industry, which exists today. Now, the final pillar would be the strong AML and KYC rules, meaning knowing exactly what's happening in this space in a fully transparent and regulated manner. This would officially bring in the traditional systems that we've been talking about since the calendar year of 2017. JP Morgan, Bank of America, BlackRock, all of these massive players here inside the United States, these are the companies that are going to be adopting blockchain products now that we definitively have crypto regulation here inside of the US. And we're starting to get some major indicators, as just yesterday, we had the DTCC announce that they were going to be tokenizing over $114 trillion worth of assets, leveraging the XLM blockchain. And when that news came, we got major movement in the price chart for the XLM community. Now, what's really interesting here is that the chart patterns on XRP and XLM are extremely similar. And there's many people out there in the XRP community anticipating we could get a major move here for XRP as well. Now, I'm keeping an eye on the $1.80 range. And if we can see some momentum here for the XRP price chart, we can start to head back into bull market territory and talk about some far more exciting price targets later on this year. And this is why it's such an exciting time to be in the XRP community, because definitively the XRP token has been trading under its all-time high for nearly 10 years on the price chart. And when this catalyst finally hits and we see some major momentum in the market, my belief is the Clarity Act is going to lead the XRP community to experience price targets, quite frankly, we have never seen before. And one of the main reasons that I have this amount of conviction here for the XRP community is because of the connections to the traditional banking system today. And with Kevin Warsh coming in, who co-authored a paper involving the XRP token back in 2022, I'm anticipating we're going to see blockchain products like the XRP Ledger tap directly into the Federal Reserve and change the way the modern United States currency system operates today. But I wanted to play a brand new clip highlighting exactly that for you guys. But if you believe Ripple is going to get access to the Federal Reserve, smash that like button, leave some comments underneath the video. Here's one of the theories getting a lot of attention today.
So what's Kevin Schwartz going to do?
I don't know exactly what he's going to do, but I do believe, firstly, let's just look at the basics about the Federal Reserve. So that is basically a massive con, right? Federal, there's nothing federal about it. It's a private organization. Kennedy, JFK, wasn't the first one, but he tried to get rid of it and bringing out his own silverback dollars, which obviously didn't go down very well because it's the fundamental control mechanism for the whole world, hence the petrodollar.
Oh, Bretton Woods was after the Second World War.
No, Bretton Woods was 46, right? So you had all these stages of making the dollar into the default currency of the world. And what did they do with it? It's just debt. It's debt based. Every dollar in your pocket is an IOU.
Yeah.
And we need to get away from that. And I think that's what Trump is implementing. We're going to have, on the surface, he's a crypto-friendly chairman. I think it's possible that, the ridiculous national debt of the United States, which I can't remember the exact figure, but I think it's 30 trillion, something ridiculous. That can get wiped out in a heartbeat. And I think it already has happened. I think we mentioned this on a previous show. In my opinion, XRP has replaced the Swift system 5 or 6 years ago, or at least running parallel. And I told you before, I noticed that because of the international payments that I was doing were happening super quick.
Right.
Whereas they used to take, because I had an international business, and I noticed these things and how quick the money comes in and out. And I think it was at least tested if it's not running parallel, if it's not already replaced it.
And so these are the type of ideas and business models that I think are going to flourish here inside of the US once the Clarity Act is signed into law. And as we saw with the XLM price chart over the last 24 hours, a single major headline and a single massive narrative can move the entire momentum of the price chart. And what we saw in the XLM price chart was a very similar structure to what we're witnessing in XRP today. My belief is now that institutions are definitively adopting blockchain products and we're on the precipice of Clarity being signed inside the United States, we're about to see trillions of dollars worth of capital move from these traditional systems into the new blockchain systems. And my belief, once again, is that XRP will be leveraged as the liquidity layer for the future of global banking. But if you enjoyed today's content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all in the next one. So if you're looking to implement the same strategies that we do here on Good Evening Crypto, I would encourage all of our listeners to click on the I Trust Capital link below and sign up to take advantage of tax-free crypto gains. Now, that's not the best part. By leveraging the I Trust link below, you're going to get a $100 free sign-up bonus to start funding your I Trust Capital account. This is going to give our listeners access to crypto assets in a Roth IRA product, allowing them to compound those gains tax-free until they're 59 years old and held these funds for 5 years. So a really unique advantage. I would encourage everybody to sign up for I Trust Capital so you can take advantage of those compounding gains tax-free.